For a second straight season, the Los Angeles Chargers finished below 500 and missed the playoffs. And the man to pay the price for an underachieving team with a talented roster was their former head coach, Anthony Lynn. But it wasn't all bad news for the Chargers in 2020. The one major bright spot was the stellar play from Rookie of the Year, Justin Herbert, who looked every bit of the franchise quarterback the Chargers hoped he would be when they selected him 6th overall in the 2020 draft. Their first order of business in the offseason was to find a new head coach. So they brought in former Los Angeles Rams defensive coordinator Brandon Staley, who at the age of 38 steps into a pretty good situation as a first-time head coach.
I'm really excited to coach these guys. It's not difficult to see there are some big-time players here in place.
As far as improving their roster, their objective was pretty clear: protect the face of the franchise in Justin Herbert. They gave former Green Bay Packers All-Pro center Corey Linsley a big contract in free agency, and in the draft selected offensive tackle Rashawn Slater in the first round to help fortify the offensive line. A lot will need to go right for this team to overtake the Chiefs and win their first division title in 12 years. But if Justin Herbert keeps progressing in year 2 and this team can finally stay healthy or return to the postseason, it's certainly possible for the 2021 season. And we have got our Jonathan Jones out there at Chargers training camp. JJ, of course, the first thing everybody wants to know about is Justin Herbert coming off that historic rookie season. And you actually spoke to head coach Brandon Staley about Justin Herbert and how he wants to see him improve. What do you have to say to you?
Yeah, I'm excited for everybody to see that interview. We spoke. It was a great interview covering a lot of topics, but we talked about Justin Herbert. And I said, hey, he had that fantastic rookie season that we all know about. What do you want him to get better at from years 1 to years 2? And he said consistency. He said be just a complete all-around player. And we also talked about he has this amazing skill set. Yeah, you know, I think folks last year understood just how big Justin Herbert was. I think in the pre-draft process, maybe folks kind of took it for granted, but he's a big guy, and he's also able to get out and run. And we've talked with Justin Herbert before about his welcome to the NFL moment, and it was in that first game that he was thrown in there because the Tyrod Taylor punctured lung situation. He took a big hit on the sideline against the Chiefs. He said, yep, we're not to do that again. So he has to be judicious, was the word Brandon Staley used, about taking off and using his talents, but also understanding, hey, when you run in the NFL, it's not to go run to get into the end zone when you're the quarterback, the franchise quarterback of the LA Chargers or any team. It's to just pick up that first down, you get down, and you live to see another down. And so that's what they're working with Justin Herbert with so far this preseason, is working on those connections with his receivers. Yes, of course, figuring out this new offense. Yes, of course, with new offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi. But it's also about using his talents and getting the most out of them in year 2 and beyond, so that it's not just year 2. We're talking about year 10, year 12, year 15 for Justin Herbert.
JJ, I know practice was pretty short today, but it seems like Keenan Allen going up against Derwin James has been pretty much must-see action out there at camp. So you got Keenan Allen going into his 9th year in the NFL now, and then Derwin James coming off that meniscus surgery he had back in September. Give us an update on these two.
Yeah, I'll start with Keenan Allen first, because he had a fantastic grab in situational football earlier. It was a 3rd and goal from the 7, and Justin Herbert rifled it into the back of the end zone right between Derwin James and Nasir Adderley. Keenan Allen got both feet down, secured the catch, and was able to get the touchdown there before they went to the second team reps. And so that was one of the highlights for the offense. And, you know, you saw Nasir Adderley and Derwin James kind of slap their hands and say, oh, gosh, because they were able to get their hands on a couple throughout the day. Like you said, Amanda, a short practice. As far as Derwin James goes, this is a guy we know about the unfortunate injury history that he's had, but Brandon Staley is depending so much on Derwin James to not only be healthy but return to form. And this is a guy that a lot of folks around here, and speaking with people, they anticipate something would have to go wrong for him to not be comeback player of the year in 2021. He's going to do everything for this team. Yeah, he has the green dot and he's signaling in plays. What do you want to call him? You want to call him a safety? Well, you can't necessarily call him a safety, because he really, truly is doing everything. I think that we talk about a Jamal Adams who plays down in the box and blitzes the passer. Okay, yeah, Derwin James can do that, but he also can go out and play corner, and he can also direct the defense, and he's going to be that star. He's going to be that money backer, or he's going to be that hybrid player. I asked Austin Eckler, what is it like in pass protection, trying to identify where Derwin James is, if he's going to come and if he's not going to come. And then what we know about Brandon Staley's defense is so many of those pre-snap disguises. And he said, Austin Eckler said, hey, it's bettering us. It's bettering me as a running back, as a defender, picking up that pass protection. But then also it's bettering Justin Herbert, having to identify all of that stuff pre-snap so that he's going to be ready for week 1 and beyond. So what Derwin James brings to this defense will obviously be huge once we get to the regular season. But what he's bringing to this offense really right now, preparing them for what they're going to see, also huge for these Chargers.
JJ, I'm going to check you real quick on the comeback player of the year because, of course, if you ask most people, if Derwin James stays healthy throughout the season and Dak Prescott stays healthy throughout the season, that award is Dak's to lose. Do you disagree?
I think I do. I disagree. I do think that Derwin, because he has been out for the last couple of years, because of his Pro Bowl play in 2018, we just haven't been able to see it. And I think also he's going to do, I truly believe this, Derwin James is going to be a defensive player in the NFL that we are not seeing elsewhere among the other 31 teams. Dak Prescott, I think that we're all anticipating him to come back from this injury. And now, of course, he has that shoulder right underneath the shoulder, if you will. I think we're all anticipating him to pick up where he left off, because that's what everybody with the Cowboys has been telling us. And so you add a 17th game on, you look at what he was throwing for before the injury, he might go 6,000 yards. And if he does that, then okay, you got to give it to him. You got to give him the MVP and the Offensive Player of the Year as well. But outside of that, I do think that Derwin, just because of how prodigious his skill set is, just because of what he's going to mean to this team, and if they are really challenging the Chiefs, as a lot of folks here believe that they will, if they can stay healthy, I think that we're going to be talking a whole lot more than we have the last several years about these LA Chargers.
All right, you were taking the long shot there because Dak Prescott, of course, is the favorite according to Caesars Sportsbook. Derwin James is the 6th favorite there at plus 1,800. So maybe you can get some value on it, JJ, if folks are listening to you. Okay, let's move on from Derwin James' surgery because it's not just been him. This Chargers team has been riddled with injuries in the past. How was the overall health of this team?
Well, Amanda, we talked just a little bit ago about how short this practice was. I looked down, if it started at 9 a.m. Out here on West Coast time, it was over by about 10:20 or so. You know, usually a lot of these training camps that we go to, it's an hour 45, 2 hours or so, and that's just about any training camp practice. So when they blew the horn, I thought, okay, it's another water break. And no, they were dapping each other up and they were done. That's all part of Brandon Staley's plan, trying to build these guys up and ramp up like it's a game week. They just came off of SoFi Stadium doing sort of that game-like atmosphere where they had the team against team scrimmage there in the stadium, had a day off, and now here you are back at it again, and you want to ramp up. Okay, so this practice is going to be 120, then the next one's going to be 130, then the next one's going to be 140. You want to simulate the game week as much as possible, just like in that practice and scrimmage, you want to simulate the game as much as possible. And Brandon Staley and his coaching staff understood when they took over here with this franchise that what you have to do is work more in consultation and sort of in unison with the sports training staff and the nutrition. He talked about the dietitian, talked about everybody on the staff, folks, that no Chargers fan, no NFL fan would ever think about, but those are the people that he and his staff are working with to ensure that that the unfortunate injury luck that this team has faced over the last couple of years, the thing that unfortunately has kind of become a joke about the Chargers, the reason that they haven't been so nationally relevant as they kind of taper off throughout the years and throughout the season, that's not going to be the case anymore. So we saw Corey Linsley just the other day go out with a foot injury during that scrimmage. He was back out here today, took all the reps that he was supposed to. They look pretty healthy right now. But again, when talking with people here, anytime you talk about the health, it's also followed by all right, knock on wood.
Absolutely. Brandon Staley, so Jonathan entering his first year as an NFL head coach. You know, Joey Bosa recently told the media, he's like, look, I like it. It will take some time to get used to, especially what he wants to do there on defense. So he's been out there at camp for about 2 weeks now. How are the players reacting to him? What are your takeaways from watching him?
Yeah, Austin Eckler told me that he really appreciates a young coach like Brandon Staley, only 38 years old, understanding what these veterans need and listening to their bodies. And, hey, we don't have to go out here in the sun for 2 hours and then come back out here and do it again for 2 hours. This is about being healthy and as healthy as possible for week one. And so the players are absolutely responding to it. Brandon Staley is a guy who has been waiting on this opportunity, who's been training for this opportunity. I like a lot of what I see from him. He's not out here overcoaching. He's not out here, cussing out the guys. I look back at this and I think back to last week when I was at the Giants camp. And listen, if the Giants win a whole bunch of games, then Joe Judge is an absolute genius. But if they start 1-5 and you remember how he's been treating his players, you're going to say that's not going to work with grown men. And more times than not, what works with these professional athletes, these multimillionaires who have been with other NFL franchises, is talking to them like a peer. And that's, I believe, what ultimately Brandon Staley is doing here with these Chargers. I think these guys are responding to it. And not only that, he's also a pretty affable guy. It's hard not to like Brandon Staley. And so with all of those things, if this team can start fast, and they have a very tough slate, the first 6 games are not going to be easy for this Chargers team. But if they can start fast and they can get some positive reinforcement on what Brandon Staley is doing here and implementing, I think that's going to pay big-time dividends for this team long-term.
Southern California, the land of young coaches. Brandon Staley, 38, and then Sean McVay, who you just visited, only 35 years old still. Let's talk about expectations for this Chargers team as a whole. They went 7-9 last season. They have not made it to the postseason since 2018. What do the Chargers look like in 2021, JJ?
I think that they're going to have a lot of firepower on offense. And one guy that I've been told to look out for, I know that everybody wants to know about Keenan Allen. You want to know about Mike Williams, the wide receiver, too, that they're going to be moving around a lot. Just go ahead and tell you that right now. They're already teaching him and trying to help him learn how to move around throughout the offense and learn more of the route tree. Josh Palmer right now might have the leg up there at wide receiver 3. I thought it might have been Jalen Guyton. KJ Hill's trying to hang on, but Palmer coming out of Tennessee, going against those SEC DBs. This coaching staff, the scouts, they loved what they saw on tape from him going against all of those first and second round corners. And so that's a guy I've been told to look out for. He's made a couple of plays throughout training camp. But it's not just going to be about him. Of course, Austin Eckler fully understands what he means to fantasy owners, was able to joke with me about it a little bit ago. And Justin Jackson is a guy, he called him jelly, Austin Eckler did. He said he moves like jelly, that he can, if that could be a GIF right there, that he'll shake anybody in a phone booth. And so I'm excited to see what this offense can bring. Obviously, the offensive line has to stay healthy. They're replacing 4 of the 5 from last season because it was one of the worst pass-blocking offensive lines in the NFL. And then, of course, when it comes to defense, like we talked about, Amanda, it's all about health. And so in their division, are they going to challenge the Chiefs? I think they can challenge them in that they will be competitive, that it will be one-score games. But if you're going to be against the 2-time AFC defending champs, I can't say that the Chargers are going to be winning their division this year. But if you plopped them in another division around the league, maybe so. So I think that this team is set for success. I think that this could be a playoff team. They're going to have to get through the gauntlet of those first couple of weeks, though. And you see right there the Cowboys and the Chiefs. All right, you can see where they can pick up some wins there against Washington and the Raiders. But the Browns and Ravens, then you have that early bye in an 18-week season. So again, health is the name of the game for this team, and hopefully the bye comes at the right time for them. But I can absolutely see this being a double-digit win team if they are healthy, and if that happens, they're going to be in the dance.
Jonathan, enjoy the rest of Southern California. I know we are sending you up north next to visit the 49ers. We'll talk to you then. JJ, thank you. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.